Welcome to Elsewhere's Props. Today I'm going to be showing you some foam smithing techniques that I use to make prop swords for cosplay. I'm going to be showing you how to turn foam like this and this into things like this. Or this. Or you could even make this. So, let's get started. Alright, so the first step is to cut your layers. I use 2 layers for my blades sandwiched over a fiberglass core. So trace your pattern to your foam and cut out the profiles with a very sharp knife. If you are not cutting all the way through in a single pass, or if you are not getting smooth edges, it's time to sharpen that knife. You can get a cheap sharpening stone for this. Simply run the blade across the stone on both sides to take the burr off the edge of the blade. It only takes a moment to do this, and a sharp blade is easier to control and will save you so much time later on. Now, with your blade layers cut and a channel carved to allow room for the support core, coat both surfaces with contact cement, and when coated, set those aside to dry for a moment. While the glue on the foam cures, go ahead and coat the core with cement as well. I have discovered that by placing a patch of drywall mesh tape over the tip of the core material, it increases the durability and safety of the prop, preventing the core from accidentally ripping or stabbing through the foam. Using the mesh, the glue is able to adhere through the holes, locking it very securely in place. Using firm pressure, carefully set your core, then set and press your layers. Contact cement, when used properly, is instant and nigh on permanent, so be very careful with your alignment. With those layers perfectly aligned, press firmly and evenly to ensure contact and to secure the cement permanently. Now we even up and true the profile using a belt sander and about 120 to 150 grit belts. Pro tip, let the sander remove the material slowly and do not push or you might grind off more than you want. I'm going to put in some distal taper. Not only does sword blades narrow to a point in profile, they narrow along the flat as well. This step helps the sword look and feel a lot less chunky in the hand. Marking a center line around the edge of the blade as a guide helps you get an even, straight grind. To shape the point, I sort of roll the tip on the sander to get a smooth grind, creating what will look like a very sharp point. Again, let the sander do the work and do not push the foam into it too hard, or you'll take off a lot of material all at once. Adding in a center line on the blade, I'm ready to put edges on this sword. Using an orbital sander with a rough pad, about 60 to 80 grit, I gradiate the blade down to the center marks I made. For a more pronounced bevel, you can draw where you want the edge to stop and simply grind to that mark instead. Grinding foam creates incredible amounts of dust, so make sure you have an appropriate air mask. A simple dust mask is not sufficient, and you do not want this stuff in your lungs. Now you can add things like fullers, battle damage, grooves, etching, and more. I personally like to use a rotary tool with a variety of stone bits for my work, but use what you're comfortable with. Along with my air mask, I have a large dust collector attached to a table screen to keep the dust down and help me see my work easier. You can make a simple draw table with a shop vac, a hose, duct tape, screen, and a duct plate. Okay, so we've got our blade pretty much shaped. We're moving on to the handle. I am not going to go over things like the crossguard and the pommel in great detail. The reason for that is the techniques used in the blades is kind of universal. The crossguard is going to vary drastically depending on what you're building. For example, something like this is going to require internal support structures, denser foams, things like that. Something like this is going to be a lot more layering and shaping and blending seams. So I don't want to bog the video down, so we're just going to move on. And if you have any specific questions, leave a comment down below. Moving on to the grip of the sword, I used a shaped PVC form covered in 1/16 inch foam. To texture it, I'm wrapping it tightly with cotton cord. And when fully wrapped, I'll heat the grip with a heat gun on high, permanently embedding the cord texture into the foam. Adding this cord texture adds visual interest to the sword, looks closer to historical examples, and gives a better grip when holding it. I will also be able to reuse this cord on future projects. With the sword assembled, I seal with Plastidip. Once I have a smooth sealed surface, I can start painting. You can use a base coat with a variety of paints and colors, such as a Plastidip metallizer, Krylon chrome spray, or you can acrylic paint with a metallic blue base and adding silver over the top. That adds more depth to the silver and requires fewer acrylic paint layers to get full coverage. To weather and give it an aged steel look, I like to add light washes of brown around the corners and edges and add bits of shading with a dark gray. Keep the washes thin, building up if necessary. Obviously, I didn't cover every technique that I use in detail, but I hope this helped you, and if you're curious about a specific technique or process, leave a comment down below. I'm about to show you some of the props that I've made, some of the cosplays that I've done using these techniques. Be sure to subscribe, share with your friends, and thank you so much for watching.